And now here to talk about Arkansas in the offseason following a historic year where the program made it to Oklahoma City at the College World Series for the first time in program history. We've had a busy portal, and he's been busy. He's been busy covering this team on and off the field since 2021. He is our good friend. I can't believe this is the first time he's actually appeared on our podcast. That's how busy he's been. But now we've made it work. He covers the Razorbacks all athletics for Hog Sports as well as Hogs Illustrated. I speak of Mr. Ethan Westerman. How you doing?
I'm good. I just now that I've gotten the invite to come on the pod, I can't mess this up. I got to do a good job so you'll invite me back.
That's the goal. I feel. I mean, we've done so many Zooms together with media availabilities. It's not even funny. I feel like we just those count as regular pods. Like I feel like you and I are just taking turn asking questions to Courtney or the players.
Yeah, I love the Arkansas softball podcasts that happen whenever we're on a Zoom together. I breathe a big sigh of relief when I see you on one of those, Eric, because those are always like once I know you're in the room, I'm like, all right, we're gonna get cooking, and there's gonna be some ideas bouncing off of each other, and there's always great questions. By the end of it, I'm like, yeah, we did just have a podcast episode over here. I think Arkansas fans, I can't tell you how many have told me that they love like watching the press conferences. I feel like it's like gotten to a point where it's like a little reality, not reality show. I don't know, some sort of show for them that they love. Whenever we all hop on there and keep Courtney for like 30 minutes on a random Tuesday in February.
Well, especially since we don't. Sometimes Courtney's just going to throw you a curveball, right? Like, hey, Thad, you know better. Like, he's just giving you a
Yeah.
hard time. Yeah, like that's it is entertaining. I can see that. I mean, I give them credit. They're one of the few that do media availabilities via Zoom, which is fairly smart because I think it gets more people eyeballs on your program. So I think it's one of the smart things they do there, to say the least. Of course, they're coming off the World Series win. I want to start with that because you were there at the World Series. Now you've had time to reflect on it. What did that mean for Courtney? What did it mean for Arkansas? What was it like, that program getting to the World Series after being so close for so many years?
Sheesh. I mean, I feel like it was just like a huge sigh of relief for the entire program because I mean, you sit in enough season-ending press conferences at your home stadium because it's not like they've gotten to a place where they're just making the NCAA tournament. They've gotten to a place where they really host. Feels like every single year, and whenever you get eliminated on your home field, just year after year, I feel like the emotional weight that carried on Courtney, carried on her assistants, even some of the players who'd been on some of those former teams, that just starts to add up. It felt like whenever they got the final out against Duke, it truly did feel like some curse had been broken at that stadium. And yeah, it meant a lot to them. And you could tell, I mean, you were there in Oklahoma City. Arkansas fans traveled well for Arkansas softball. It's not too far away. I would think that, if they can keep making it back there, you'd only see that grow too. I know anytime Oklahoma State is there, they're going to obviously have the biggest crowds there. But Arkansas showed up and showed out, I thought. They're at Devon Park. I thought it was a really cool moment for the program. And to me, it felt like maybe this just the start of something for them. Like they've been getting so close, knocking on the door. They punched it down, and now you just wonder, like, hey, can they start going back there regularly, and can they start making some deep runs? Because I thought they had the. I'll stand by it. I thought they had the team this year to go there and win it all. I mean, heck, they beat Texas on the road in a series in the regular season. They beat the national champs. So I'd still stick by it that I think that if some things go different ways there in Oklahoma City, they could have been one of the last teams standing, but just getting there nonetheless, huge for them.
You're right. That atmosphere, I'll never forget that Arkansas-Nebraska game. And credit to Nebraska fans because they came out too. That was an electric atmosphere. And it was huge, I think, for the tournament because I think going in, there were some, I think, locally, they were wondering, how is the tournament going to look? How is it going to sound without a team from Oklahoma, with the Sooners especially, and Oklahoma State? And I thought it was tremendous. And I thought Arkansas fans were incredible. I had a bunch of Arkansas fans, in fact, in the hotel I was staying at. And they just were taking it all in. And that's always the best thing, Ethan. When a team goes for that first time, a fan is not jilted by, oh, been there, done that. It's kind of fresh. And I think the Arkansas fans, I got a sense, really embraced the experience. And I think they'll be back, as you mentioned. And I think my favorite moments were how the Arkansas players and Coach Deifel and they all acknowledged the fans after I think they were eliminated by UCLA. It was a tremendous moment. for the program. And you're right. I mean, if the Nebraska game goes a different way, they had a lead late, couldn't hold it. Maybe it's a different conversation. Unfortunately, you lose an extra inning game to Nebraska that goes past midnight. You use your arms, and then you get your reward. Now you got to play UCLA less than 24 hours later. Not a good recipe there.
Yeah, no, it felt like one of those games that whatever team lost between Arkansas and Nebraska was going to have a big uphill climb. I mean, it was just an emotional game. It was a really cool game because it meant a lot to both programs. This wasn't it was a moment that both fan bases have been waiting for some time, and two states that I mean, all they really have is their college team. There's not, people love the Huskers in Nebraska. People love the Razorbacks in Arkansas. And so they traveled well. It was a great atmosphere. It was everything that whoever did this, the committee seating, they whenever they had 4 versus 5, that is exactly what somebody had to be getting goosebumps knowing that they did that seating and produced that game, because it was electric. It was everything you could have asked for that type of seating in that environment. I think had Arkansas won that game, it is a little bit different story. I was for days going around saying I view the same way in at the World Series now as at a regional, where you better win your first game or else you're just screwed. And then Texas turns around and wins the national championship. So that one didn't work anymore. But then again, I do think that there was a little bit something different just with the way that Arkansas's was a late game and it was 10 innings or whatever it was. Was it 10? I've forgotten at this point. It was a late game.
It was 10. It was late. And look, they was there for the first time. Texas is a veteran team that's been there, done that with their backs against the wall. I do think one of the lessons is, Arkansas now knows what it feels like, right? Like, I think Coach Deifel now knows what it feels like. I know the players that return it will get to know what it feels like. Because it's a different animal when you're there. It's one thing to say, oh, well, we played in big games in the supers and regional, but man, that setting, I mean, I've had people tell me over the years, like, it could get you. Like, it could get you, like, oh, big picture here.
Yeah, and I will say, I do think, personally, just having watched Arkansas all year, I actually don't think the stadium and moment was too big for them, honestly, because I was there in Norman when they went and played OU. They went to Alabama. They went to Texas. Like, they played in some big environments throughout the regular season. I think that prepared them as best they could. And I do think against Nebraska, that was the most encouraging thing if you're just Arkansas as a program, is they looked like they belonged there in that. There wasn't a doubt, like, should they be here? I mean, they poured it all out and just came up short. So I think that if anything, they hate how that second game went against UCLA, where you're just kind of lifeless, to say the least. I mean, it didn't even look like the same team that played all season. So I think that was just the hard part for them, was to lose on such a game that looks like they maybe weren't supposed to be there, but anybody who watched the first one knew that they should be there. And I think that it caught up to Nebraska in their next game too, when you watch them, just like, even having won it, it just takes something out of you when you're up late and you're living and dying with every pitch. And I know Courtney said that she's going to have nightmares about her pitch call on the home run that Hannah Core hit that tied it up and even sent it to another inning. I thought whenever Ella McDowell had that RBI, I thought that was game.
Me too.
I mean, it just felt like the moment. And then Hannah Core does, I guess, in another shade of red, some Sooner magic. Just, you couldn't make it up. But I mean, that was an electric game. I think that ESPN, when it came out with its ratings, when it announced them, said it was maybe the most watched opening Thursday game on record. So,
I could see it. Yeah, I mean, they got it went on, and it was a great broadcast. Yeah, it's a game I'll never forget. It was, that's my second World Series, but consider yourself fortunate, Ethan. Not many could say they saw a classic right off the bat in your first World Series game you'll cover, and that's a game Arkansas fans will remember. I know not necessarily for the result, but just the experience of it.
And I mean, it was, you knew that, like, it felt big, and that's like, they deserved, I think, the program just to get a game like that finally. It's like they've just been so good in the regular season that it feels like they belong on that stage to be in a game with a lot of eyeballs, but they finally got it.
No, they did. How does this change now the program as far as the I don't know if the expectation, not talking about internally, I think the expectations are always the same internally, but just the program's perception outside there of the fan base and everything, that now they've broken through, like you mentioned. There was questions. Will they ever get over the hump? I mean, they lost to Ole Miss in the Supers at home in a heartbreaking 3-game series. Lost to Texas back in 2022, which, might have been, up until this year, arguably Deifel's best team. If you look back on it all these years, all these heartbreaks, to finally get over the hump. How does that change now moving forward with the Arkansas fan base?
Yeah, I make this comparison some with Arkansas's baseball program. Everybody knows that they're really good at baseball. Making the World Series is common for them. But in 2004, under Dave Van Horn, that was the first time under him that they made the World Series, and it just did something to grow the fan base big time. And it felt like they had been kind of knocking, and then they broke onto the scene and they made it in '04. And from then on, it's they've just been going back a lot. They've been really close to winning it all in baseball. But I feel like softball might follow a similar trajectory as far as I have felt personally the fan base grow. Like something about just breaking that curse and getting to the World Series brought even more eyeballs on the program that they'd had. And it's a program that's been growing in fan popularity, but it's like something about actually making it there grew it to another degree. I have never before in my life, which I get they had a I say never before in my life. I've been covering the team since 2022. I've never before since covering this team in the off season gotten as many people questioning, asking me about portal stuff, asking me about like what's happening with the assistant coach situation. I'm like, man, y'all's interest is really here right now. I get it that Arkansas had a taller task to replace a big senior class with the portal, so it was a little bit different scenario there than maybe some recent years. But I think even without that, it would have been like I was just getting asked a lot more, which lets me know that it started to seep into like another maybe crack of the fan base to where they're now watching Razorback softball. And on our message board at Whole Hog Sports, I mean, we have people starting on. I used to in the past just spoon feed them softball, make my own thread and tag along if you want. Now I'm having to catch up and go make sure I'm answering some questions on the fan generated softball threads. So it's a great time, I think, for people to start watching the program because it does feel like it. And I'm sure we'll get into this, like making the World Series probably helped them out in the portal some.
Definitely probably would. Is it a top four sport now at Arkansas? You cover every sport there.
Yeah.
Obviously, football is huge there. Men's basketball certainly has had great history with the national title under Nolan Richardson, John Calipari currently there, head coach. The baseball programs had great. But is it the top four sport? Is it the number one, say, women's sport, and right there with baseball, men's hoops and football?
I'd put it number 4 right now. I would put it right under say football. If you're an SEC school, still stays chief, even if you're Arkansas and it's been a struggle recently. Men's basketball, baseball, then I would probably slide softball in there right now, which is crazy to say because a decade ago, people are like, oh, they have a softball team. Who knew that? But it's like, it's just gotten, I think the success they've had and the way that they've done it has really connected with fans because it feels like a story that resonates, I think, with Arkansas fans as far as like they built it themselves. It was like a blue collar mentality to build that program up. And they're reaping the benefits like a decade later. I think there's just so many good stories with this Arkansas softball program since Courtney's gotten there that have connected with fans. But I would say, yeah, it's probably the 4th most popular, at least that's kind of where my feelers are at. I mean, there's always like people find their niche sport that they love, but it feels like softball to me is the one that like I had friends, people text me that they're tuned into the Women's College World Series games. They're tuned into super regionals. And it's just like, I don't know the last time that, Arkansas is a dominant track program, but I don't know how many people are always making sure they're tuning into, NCAA outdoor championships to watch Arkansas win it all. It's like, I just think that softball is a product they're pretty fast games. It's fast paced. Like the action is right there. I just think it's a sport that fans, once they start watching it, they're like, man, this is a lot of fun. And Arkansas fans are certainly now, I think, in the equation as far as just passionate college softball fan bases.
And she's a star power coach, which kind of fits right now with Arkansas. With I mentioned Calipari, Van Horn. You got star-studded coaches there. I mean, Kobe Hale is one of the better coaches in women's soccer. The job he's done there in Arkansas, and she's like, what is she like as far as you've been around her? You've covered her now for many years. What is she like in that area? How are the community, the fan base with her overall?
I mean, I think she's adored by the fan base. It's not. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people who just kind of adore her that aren't even Arkansas fans, just in the softball community, just because of the way that she kind of conducts her program. I think that it speaks a lot when you have a coach like Ken Erickson at South Florida, that after they get done playing the regional Arkansas, he's been there, done that. He's been around a lot of coaches, and he just could not stop saying enough good things about her. And he was like, I don't really know her even all that well, respected her, but he's just like, they do it the right way. And I think maybe that's a cliche when you hear a coach say they do it the right way. he's the type of coach when you hear that from, you're like, you mean it. You aren't just gonna go passing out these compliments like Halloween candy. Like you're gonna say somebody does it the right way if you think that they do. And she said the same thing about his program. But I just think that that people respect her nationally, and then within the Arkansas coaching world, I think that she's one of the like the amount of people that I've seen just like since their World Series run being like sign her up lifetime contract, like that's the type of coach she is. But you're right. There's some star-studded coaches right now. Colby Hale's the program he's built is phenomenal too. I'd say they're up there with softball as far as like those secondary non-rev sports that are very popular at Arkansas. They saw out their games too. But there's a lot of among the coaches, she's one of the most I think liked ones there.
Well, she's been busy this offseason. We mentioned the transfer portal. They've been busy. They had to replace a big senior class. And she also had to get a new hitting coach because DJ Gasso is now the new head coach at Tulsa. Justin Schultz, who was at Boise State as a head coach, is now the new hitting coach at Arkansas. What's your reaction to that? Those moves there with DJ moving on to be the head coach at Tulsa? I don't think that's a surprise for anybody, but Justin Schultz coming in.
Yeah, funny story real quick before that. So had been kind of getting told leading up to them hiring Schultz, like, oh, they're a mid-major head coach, a sitting mid-major head coach is going to come take that job. It's had some success recently. I think they were like, I had even heard like has been a conference coach of the year. And so that kind of rumor I think had gotten out there a little bit some too. And so I'm writing a story a few weeks ago. Just I've been trying to write about the Courtney's coaching tree, and I'm talking to Mary Half and Jordan Clark, and I guess the rumor had made its way to people who know Jordan, and she had people texting her just dead convinced that Jordan Clark was coming to Arkansas to come be the hitting coach. And she was like, but she told me she was like, she was like, I love it here, all this stuff. And but she was like, as crazy as it sounds, like that's how much respect I have for them that if I would actually consider it type of deal. Like so I think that spoke a lot. But it is funny that there were Arkansas fans in speculation mode of who's about to be the new hitting coach. First of all, I want to say it didn't shock me DJ getting a head coaching job. He has a track record at this point as far as like he did it at Utah, he did it at Arkansas. The numbers don't lie. It's got better and better and better. This year, Arkansas set all sorts of offensive season records. I think that it was just a matter of time for him to get a job, and Tulsa just made absolute sense. Honestly, I'm blanking. You'll know the name. Who was there this past year at Tulsa? But whenever I saw that that she wouldn't be back, I kind of had the thought. I was like, oh, that would make
first
a whole
thought,
lot of
right?
sense.
When Coach Strimple, Chrissy Strimple wasn't renewed, an alum there. That I kind of agree with you on that. That like, ooh, that could be an interesting fit.
Yeah, and I think that for DJ, it's like that's a phenomenal situation to step into as far as like for your first head coaching job, that he's going to go to a state that he's familiar with, a state that is familiar with his last name. And that, I mean, I think that's invaluable for him, just building that program that I think that on its own, you're going to get some Oklahoma fans. I think Arkansas saw this at the World Series just by having him on the staff. There were some OU fans who just went to the game and started cheering for Arkansas because DJ. Yeah. I think you might have some in the Tulsa area that have gone to OU games and maybe they're like, oh, time for me to maybe come support Tulsa. I mean, because I know DJ probably hopes they get to be big rivals at some point, but like right now, like, is that really tearing allegiance at all? You know, I think if anything, you just kind of cheer for another team in the state, and especially with DJ there, I think it just made all sorts of sense. And from all the interviews that he's done, sounds like it was, a real good alignment as far as like the vision of that program, what they're going to invest in softball. And I think I've kind of been keeping up with his portal haul from afar, and it's impressed me as far as they've got a lot of power conference kids going there to play. And I think maybe 64 analytics, somebody with the ratings, which I never know how much stock to put into these, but they're like a top 25-ish on portal classes, which is impressive for him. So I think that opportunity was just right there for him, and it made sense. And I expect him to do good things there. I'm a believer after covering him at Arkansas. The DJ Gasso effect is real. Saw it from year to year. And then as far as Justin is concerned, I actually had met him because Boise State came to Arkansas for one of those non-conference invitationals this year. So they were, I think it was the Woo Pig Classic that they came to. So they played Arkansas in a game, and I actually met him because I was doing a little note in a notebook. He's like the cousin of Lexi King, who was the pitcher at Arkansas, is now at Charlotte, transferred out. But anyway, I stopped and talked to him, and I was like, man, this guy's sharp. And you could tell the baseball backgrounds there, which is similar to DJ. DJ has the baseball background, and I don't know. I'll be curious to see how it works at Arkansas. I know the fans are really excited. I mean, he's the winningest, I think, best win percentage in Boise State's program history,
Sure.
and he's coming in to work with hitters. He's well respected. I think you've seen in the portal that some great hitters wanted to come, be under him. So I think that it's going to be a good fit. I mean, we'll see where it goes, but it seems like the type of hire that like fans should rightfully be excited about.
Had a good offenses at Boise, was obviously a hitting coach at Oregon prior to that, Fresno State, Miami, everywhere he's gone, teams have hit well. And I know it's cliche when people say, oh, that's their top choice. I really do think this was Courtney's top choice, literally, because it didn't take long.
Yeah, it didn't take long, and I think that had him out like as soon as DJ gets the job at Tulsa. I think Justin was out like within the next few days to just come visit and kind of figure things out. I know his sister was very good at softball at OU. I'm blanking
Jessica
on
Schultz, catcher
Schultz.
for Oklahoma, caught Ricketts and company and Gascoigne and those Oklahoma teams back in like 2012 and 2013, that 13 national title team.
So would she have over? I don't know if her time there would have overlapped with them. For Courtney was a GA there in like 08, 09, maybe as a freshman. But it seems to me like they probably the families have known
Right.
each other at least to some degree,
Sure.
and so it seems like yeah, it feels to me like a move that it's funny because I'll reference talking to Jordan again, and she was mentioning how whenever you're a sitting head coach, you always have in the back of your mind like a plan of like who would I hit up if say an assistant job just opens, because for her that happened with pitching coach going to Minnesota, and she said Mary was kind of on her radar in that regard. I think that probably Courtney, I would assume Justin would be on that radar. And coaches, whenever they host invitationals and stuff, they usually invite teams there of coaches they like and respect. Let's just be real.
Agreed.
Whenever
No,
you
agreed.
see when the teams you come in, and Boise State's one that came all the way to Fayetteville to play this past February, and that lets you know already like you don't normally invite a coach out there that you don't respect how they run their program. So I think that there's probably been some respect, but some mutual admiration as far as how the programs are run for some time now, and I'm sure that that goes way back to even his former stops than just at Boise, at Oregon, at Fresno. But we'll see how it works. I think that it's the type of hire that it speaks volumes of Arkansas as a program that you can like imagine whenever Courtney took over saying that you're going to get a sitting mid-major head coach, a successful one, to come be the hitting coach there. Like
Good.
nobody would sign up for that.
No, it's pretty good on that. And then right to work, transfer portal, 8 additions to the portal. How would you describe this class that they've brought in from the portal?
Yeah, it's all the numbers are great. Every single one of them. I'm talking hitters first. Hitters numbers are great. I think that it's always the question, and it will be unless you land like a in conference transfer or like somebody that you just is proven been at the World Series from another team. You're always like, how does this stack up against SEC pitching? That's always the question. But even if these I don't think you're asking any of these players that you bring in like to duplicate the production they had, Kylie Doherty in the Patriot League. Like that's unreal to say you need to come hit 27 home runs again. But I think that you look at a player like her and you're like, you hit 27 home runs in a season. That is a fantastic addition. I don't care what level you're playing at. You hit 27 home runs. That's not easy. Kendall Yarnell, who you're, I'm sure, very familiar with. She had a great season at UCF. Katie Wetland at Nevada, she had a great season. And then Ava Zachary. I mean, you're looking at a bunch of players who hit like double-digit home runs, batting over 400. The question's how it will be against SEC pitching, but we've seen. Tiana Bell's a great example. She came from Cal this past year, and her production was better at Arkansas. Facing SEC pitching, she had a career year. We've seen it before. Players can come in at a lower conference, but just where the pitching isn't the same as the SEC, and Courtney and company can, I guess, inject a bunch of confidence and good technique and stuff into them, and they duplicated at Arkansas. But and then as far as pitching is concerned, they added Kate Monnerlin from A&M, who I think the upside there is just like, I think that's what you're going for with her, and honestly Grace Hornbuckle as well from Omaha, who they came to Fayetteville in an invitation. She pitched against them and almost beat Arkansas. So I saw her up close and in person. Added 2 lefties to the staff. Arkansas only had one this past year with Robin Heron, but now you're going to have two lefties on the staff to come alongside Peyton Burnham and Sailor Timmerman. Which Burnham, I'm gonna real quick. I've seen a lot of people that were like maybe disappointed. They're like, why didn't Arkansas go get like just a dominant ace from the portal? I think that a lot of people their brain goes to like you have somebody like Robin Heron, you need to replace them with another ace. And
Sure.
I'm just here to say I think Peyton Burnham it can be that. I don't know why people are acting like she can't be the dominant ace on
I
the
would
staff.
argue, Ethan. I would argue there were times the last couple of years where she was the ace over Robin.
Yeah. I think this year, so she battled some illness this past season, like the first maybe month and a half was still recovering. If you take out her early season outings, whenever she just was not feeling like herself, it's funny. If you take her SEC stats, if you look at how she did in the conference games instead of non-conference, the numbers were really elite. She was the winning pitcher at OU when they went down, held them to 2 runs. I know things did not go well for her against UCLA. That is about the only performance I can think of off the top of my mind that didn't go well for her over the last like 2.5 months of the season. She was the pitcher they had out there to face Duke in the clinching game for the World Series. I think that with her, I'm looking at it like she's just a sophomore, and she could be that dominant ace starting this season. I think. I don't. It's hard to like at this point be stacking up SEC like pitcher of the year candidates or whatever, but I don't see why she couldn't be in that mix, honestly. I think that she's got the stuff and she's experienced and we'll see how she does. But yeah, I think that adding Kate and Grace to the mix just gives you, I think, to come alongside Sailor, who also I think we could see a huge jump from this year. I think that it more or less just gives you more depth and more looks because it is different whenever Sip's coming in from the left side.
Yeah, but yeah, people always like, hey, it wasn't like there was a ton of pitching options in the portal. It's not like there were a bunch of All Americans available in the portal. That's number one. But you feel they've addressed because obviously they lose Robin Heron at graduation. Harrison transfers out. Lexi King you mentioned transfer, but you feel they've offset that and addressed that in those needs at the pitching circle.
Yeah, I think the verdict is still out because Grace and Kate still have like they have something to prove. I think that's the type of transfer you like coming in a lot of times too. I think Cam Harrison will have a lot of success at Arizona State because I think she's in a similar boat. I think that pitchers maybe your first couple of years, whenever it doesn't go how you envisioned. Similar to Cam, who was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Texas. Kate, I think, was that in California, big states. And I think that whenever your first 2 years just don't go how maybe you wanted them to, it can drive a player and you see them start to flourish in their later years with the lessons that they've learned. And sometimes a change of scenery really helps. So I wouldn't be like, I don't want to sit here and say, I think that Kate or Gray, like, I'm not going to just put that pressure on one of them. I'm predicting that they're going to just take this huge leap and just be, somebody that they haven't been. But I do think that they'll both, like, I think one of the two will probably be very firmly in the mix as far as like on weekends that you have out there starting for a game. I just think that, you look at the way it shakes up, and I think Peyton and Sailor, you're very comfortable and confident in those two moving forward. And I think one of these two will probably emerge, and the other one will probably just be added depth. But we'll see. I think that Courtney has a good track record at this point with bringing in pitchers who maybe some people know about and see the potential, but that she sees something and elevates them. It was just a few years ago that Morgan Leinstock came from Southern Miss and turned into an All-American her last year at Arkansas. And then Shanice Dells was good at Tulsa. I think she was the freshman of the year, maybe in the American one year. And then, but did people see her turning into what she was at Arkansas though when she added the drop ball? Like, I just think that they have a track record at this point for maybe some of these pitchers that they see something scouting wise that they know they can work with, and then maybe developing them into somebody that is better than they've been in their other years in their career.
They had 8 players depart via the portal. I think not a lot of surprises there, but perhaps by far, arguably the biggest surprise was Riho, the starting shortstop. She is now at A&M. So is Kennedy Miller, by the way, who's apparently going to play over there at A&M. But is that the bit? Do you agree? Was that surprising to you? And that probably is maybe the biggest question for an Arkansas defense that prides itself on defense is how is that infield going to look up the middle now?
Yeah, I think Riho was definitely the biggest, like, wow. I think that for anything, people are like, is she going to take up her redshirt year? because she has the additional year built in and she plays with a lot of pain. Like, I mean, the staff has talked about it, how Talia Rijo has just at this point, like, been through a lot of injuries and stuff that she'll often be playing through pain. And I think that was the bigger question for me was like, is she going to want to come back and play another year? Is she just going to want to, is she going to want to, retire and focus on other stuff? But it's definitely, I didn't have it on my bingo card for her to get in the portal, but it is what it is. And I think for Arkansas, that is obviously where your brain goes to right away is who's going to be shortstop now. And I sit here and I think Ella McDowell, as good of a third baseman as she is, I heard that girl like before college, she was just a really good shortstop. Like that's I think maybe her more natural position. We'll see. I That's kind of my prediction right now. I also know that they have some good freshmen coming in. I don't really know exactly who would maybe be out of that bunch the most equipped for playing shortstop. Maybe Katie King from Alabama. I think I've maybe heard she plays some shortstop. I'm not super familiar with everything about the incoming freshmen, but I think that the way you look at how they portaled and finishing at 6 players when you had 8 go out tells me that they have some freshmen that they're pretty confident are going to come in and make an impact.
Right, highly ranked class. If you're into that, I mean, Courtney knows how to recruit. Had a #1 class a couple years ago. This one, I believe, was top 10, if I recall. Yeah.
Yeah, it was consensus considered a really good class, and I think that you'll see Brinley Baines a very interesting piece for Arkansas next year because she can kind of do it all. We'll see how they kind of put this puzzle together. But yeah, as far as outgoing players are concerned, I think that Riho was the only real shocker. Kennedy Miller knew all along she was going to, she graduated from the university and wasn't going to be back for next year because she wanted to go to grad school at A&M. It was just a matter, I think, of if she was going to play, which I guess technically, like, it's still not official out there, but been hearing back and forth yes and no. But that one wasn't a shocker, but it was kind of, I think for a lot of fans, maybe just because they didn't know the backstory. And there wasn't like, I know Kennedy graduated from University of Arkansas in 3 years, and I think the business school, very impressive. So I'm, like, best of luck to her if she decides to play or not. But she was a everyday starter pretty much for the past 3 years to where it's like, I think Arkansas fans, that's the thing with none of these outgoing transfers. There's not like any like harsh feelings from fans. If that makes sense. Even with them going to A&M, I think a lot of them just really respect what Talia and Kennedy and some of these others too, who weren't always in the lineup, what they did during their time at Arkansas.
It's true. And you're right. It's word on the streets, not anything official, but the word on the streets that she is going to play. We'll find out when you get to went to the field in the fall. That's when we know for sure. I've learned that over the years until you see them in the lineup in the fall there. Ava Zachary, I want to mention, is another name to watch there in the infield for the Notre Dame transfer. She's played short. I've seen her in person. I'm thinking their plan was to have her maybe at second with Carly Davidson graduate, but who knows? She could play short. You're right. Ella McDowell played shortstop coming into Arkansas, only moved to third because they already had a shortstop. So that's kind of what happened there. But she was a shortstop going back to her USA days. And I want to bring her up because I think she's the face of this program now moving forward, if not already. Ethan, and I'll be full transparent here. I always knew she was good, but this World Series was the first time I saw her live in person. I don't think television does her any justice on how good she really is. Some of the plays she does, the TV I don't think does it justice on how incredible she is. You've covered her throughout. Describe her and what she brings?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I was telling everybody after the season, this is Ella's team now. I think it's like she had already throughout the postseason, kind of with fans who weren't already familiar, like just grown a lot of fans in that regard to seeing how good she is. I mean, she's really good at the plate all postseason, but the defensive plays were just unreal throughout the postseason. That's why it's so hard when you like see her do that at third base to be like, do you want to move to short? But I think she's that good that she could. But I think that you nailed it, that she's kind of the face of this program. Wouldn't shock me to see her, in this NIL era land. Like I just expect next year to see her on everything because that's just like, she has that personality and everything that's super outgoing. Fans have, she is a lot like how Brie Ellis was, just younger. and on the opposite side of the of the infield, as far as like she just knows how to connect with fans and knows how to energize a crowd. But yeah, I think that really the World Series is kind of her, welcome party for the rest of college softball, just as far as how good she is. But yeah, no, it's there's I think that's going to be the question all off season is who's going to play where in the infield. Because also I'd expected at first base maybe I'm sure maybe they tried to be in on the Tori Edwards sweepstakes or whatever because I mean that's kind of what they've had to do the past couple of years is just Bree Ellis came in as a transfer at first base, Tiana Bell came in as a transfer. Now I'm like, oh, who's going to go play first next year? It's just like um, they've got a lot of pieces that they can kind of mess around with and we'll see. They recruit athletes who can play a lot of positions. That's a philosophy they have. I mean, Brinley Bain's a great example because they like having those options to be able to mix and match with what makes sense in a lineup. But Ella is certainly like put her. I'm like put her anywhere and she's going to excel because you see the plays that she makes it at third and short, and you're like you're just a ball player.
No, you're right. I wonder if Kendall Yarnell gets a chance at first base. You mentioned, obviously, I know her from the UCF days. She had played first base, but just for a lot of reasons, just was kind of DH because they had Ashley Griffin, a veteran at first base, and all that. So, but that staff, Matt Michael knows they'll figure it out. They'll figure
Yeah.
it out. But those will be some of the interesting questions in a team that's going to look different, Ethan, right? Like, is that, I mean, I would imagine that first fall practice, and as they get going in the fall, there's probably going to be even a lot of questions that Courtney's going to get asked in that first media availability.
Yeah, it truly felt like this year. I know she said it in her post game press conference how they'll never have this team again, but I think it carried a little bit more weight than maybe like people felt just because it truly does feel like they're having to turn a chapter at the program of it's like this was the group to get you to the World Series, and you're going to have to really replace a lot of it. For like, I know that there were a lot that transferred out, not always like your high impact, high usage players. That's like only one or two in there, but like you knew that a lot were graduating and you knew that things were just going to have to look different next year. And I think that was the big question: is you're like, what is going to be the impact of going to the World Series and what they did this year to replace all that? And I think that they answered that bell. As far as I don't think it's too like out there for me to say. I think they landed a top five transfer class when you just look at all of them stacked up. I think 64 analytics has them second, but obviously that's just a bunch of numbers crunched and doesn't always. Different publications might have different rankings, but I think that it's pretty, hard to debate them having not having a top five class. I think they kind of knocked it out of the ballpark with who they got in the portal, and I think you add that with the freshmen they have coming back, and you'll just see, what they can do with it. But it is going to be, I mean, I'm going to be learning with everybody else, just as far as like going to fall practices and seeing who's playing where, what the plan might be. But I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue. I think that it's a good time for me to be covering them because fans are certainly interested as well.
100% there. But the good news is, they're coming off the World Series, which, as you mentioned, I think definitely helps in some of the additions that they got. Bogle seems like it's a beautiful part. And it seems like Arkansas, from a resource standpoint, is supporting softball. Am I accurate in that? Do they have what they need in softball, or are there still some lingering things there?
I think they could still get some more. I don't know their exact numbers. I think that, we're in an era where like it'd be crazy to see what Courtney recruiting wise would be doing 6, 7 years ago with the like just with where they're at right now as far as like the success they've had whenever money isn't, like the driving force for a lot of things. I get it. Like there's you can't always say this means transferring somewhere just for the money. But I mean, you see the most supported schools resource wise are landing really big transfers. I would be curious to see what they would do with just a completely even playing field. But I do think they have some really good supporters. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that I don't think we can lump Arkansas on the top tier as far as college softball, as far as like how much, they're getting to pay for players. I think they're doing well. I mean, they showed me this offseason. I think they're doing maybe better than I thought, but I still think that there's some levels to this. But yeah, I think that uh, that's another reason why getting the World Series is big. I think it put them on the radar of a lot more people who wanted to probably pony up and start paying for players because they saw the product. They're like, oh, we want to help this coach. So I think that that certainly helped too.
Winning carries momentum in that regard. Trust me. Yeah, people all of a sudden, when it comes to either players or even the facilities too, like it's still somewhat important there. But
Yeah.
should be a lot
And
of.
Bogle could use some. It's a
Does
beautiful
it?
ballpark, but Bogle could use some, some just spring cleaning. I think that Bogle is in a place where it's already an elite ballpark, but if it got renovated and there was maybe some, like, it'd be cool if they added. I'm speaking on this from a media standpoint, but like a press conference area there that's got a bigger clubhouse, like stuff like that that kind of meets the times a little bit more from whenever. I mean, Bogle is a relatively, I think, new ballpark still, maybe in the scheme of college softball parks, but I don't know how many renovations have happened since it opened, and I'm trying to remember what year it was. It was like mid 2000s.
Yeah, it's definitely
So
it's a little. It's not Love Field like it is in Oklahoma, which is
yeah,
basically brand new, but still, it's
yeah.
what I would say. A lot of people have rave reviews about going to Bogle and the experience there with the burn and everything.
Yeah, it's very nice. I just think that there were gonna be some renovations about 3 or 4 years ago that were supposed to start happening, and then everything changes in college athletics and priorities change. And the athletic director Hunter Yurchek said over and over, he said, "This is not on the back burner; it's still on the side burner." But you stay on the side burner for long enough, and you're like, "Is this the side burner?"
Right,
Like,
right.
yeah, but I get it. There's a lot of like funds you got to raise right now. They just got a big stadium naming rights deal. That's going to help football, but like it's just like you wonder you wonder at what point they reach a space where it's like ready to go forward on some of these renovations, because I think that you even upgrade the facilities they already have with the momentum they have with winning and just the culture and everything. I'm just like, there's no reason why they couldn't be viewed as a, I don't know, like in a decade from now, like up there with just the top programs. I think they already are kind of internally are.
Well, and you
Uh,
can make revenue. You can make revenue with some of the renovations. I mean, you've seen it how the SEC's taken advantage on the baseball front, where it's a go-to place and make revenue. I think it's this be applied in softball.
yeah, for sure. And I'm anxious to see what it does for the SEC moving conference tournament to one location. Also, is coming this next year to see. I just feel like the more the spotlight's been put on softball and what the SEC's done, it's helped out the programs as far as like, I know Arkansas softball is not a revenue driving sport right now, but I'm sure it's not as in the red as it was, you know,
Right, right.
whenever they took over. I mean, they sell out the place all the time. So, I think that also there's a lot of fans that want to see, they love the lovely grass berm. I think you want to keep that, but can you fit in some more bleachers?
It's good problems to have. It's called success and building and growing. That's the beauty over there at Arkansas. And the man who's covered it is one Ethan Westerman. Tell the audience where they can find your work because you're always busy. I know that. So give us the audience where they can find your work there, because I feel like you're working almost there year round. It's almost shocking that you're actually a bit of a
Yeah.
mini vacation as we talk.
Yeah. No, you can find my work at WholeHogSports.com, or I'm on Twitter at Eth West. First two letters of my first name, first four letters of my last name, NWA, like Northwest Arkansas. That's where you can find my work. But yeah, I'm like it's a fly trap. You go to watch to get my softball coverage, you're going to accidentally get some football and men's basketball and women's basketball too, because I cover it all. So, but certainly softball is, I've told people my favorite sport, I think, to cover year round, as far as just like, it's fun. It's fun. So hopefully, if you do want to keep up with my work, you can suffer through hopefully not another 2-10 football season, and maybe a little bit more fun football news.
Hopefully she scored more points there anyway. But nonetheless, certainly encourage people to check him out. He's the best at it covering Arkansas and softball. I know you had a blast at Oklahoma City. Enjoyed that. It was good to meet you in person, not on Zoom. That was fun. And enjoy your summer break. And then I'm sure I'll see you at for a future fall media availability on a Zoom nearby us here.
We'll have a good time, Eric. Appreciate it.